Good morning. Sorry for the 2-day delay in the video. I had an 8-hour oil change on Tuesday, and then a family gathering that evening. And then, of course, yesterday my husband was home all day. It's kind of hard to do a video with him around. And I had to go into work for a couple hours and make dinner, all that family stuff. Anyway, so I gotta get ready to go to work here in a little bit, but right now I'm doing dishes, so I hope you don't mind, but I gotta get the dishes done. So I thought I'd go ahead and try to get this video knocked out. That way we can get the stuff with my dad wrapped up and get over that hurdle. So I had gotten a text from my brother this morning, and he was saying that when it's the same thing and it's happening so often, it tends to run together in our memory, which I had already said that, but it's nice to know that I'm not the only one that's happening to, because you don't get to talk to a whole lot of people that's gone through it. I mean, throughout life I have talked to people that have also gone through it, but anyway, but it was just nice to hear it from him too, that he experiences the same thing. So, but anyway, so we are up to Capitol Heights. Capitol Heights was the last place I resided with my dad before running away and never going back to his care. I should probably hang on to that. Anyway, so I had told you about the very first night when we had moved in and the kids had burned the cross in the yard, and I don't know if that was directed towards us or to the neighbors. But when I was thinking about it, the kid that did it actually had a little brother that was, I'm not sure if he was half black or maybe it was a different race. But to me, he looked like he was just mixed. And do me a favor, don't come for me on that, because my kids are mixed. So no, I don't have anything against black people. And if I was being honest, white people have hurt me a hell of a lot more than black people ever had. But anyway, obviously, I mean, if you've been listening to my story, that's pretty evident. So, anyway, so Capitol Heights, and like I said before, this was considered the projects, and the reason for that is because it was low-income housing. Being as how my dad never actually held a job, there was no actual income. He never paid taxes on doing flea markets and things, so anytime he tried to trace his income, there was none. So, and at this time, I know that he was already selling drugs, but mainly pot, but there's also some cocaine in there. Because again, that was how he had, from my recollection, that was how he had gotten his Corvette, that orange Corvette. I don't remember the exact transaction, what it consisted of. I just remember hearing that it was a trade. So, anyway, so the apartments were all connected together. We were on an end. So on the side where our room was actually connected to the neighbor's son's room. Just the wall separating it. So these walls weren't the thickest. So I used to wonder how much they could hear through those walls. If they could hear some of the beatings that we got. And again, I was a bedwetter, so I was always on the bottom bunk. And the way the house was, like, when you walked in the front door, there's the living room, then you walk through the living room into the kitchen, and then there's a back door off the kitchen. Also, when you walked in the front door, you would be immediately facing the steps going upstairs. At the top of the stairs was mine and my middle sibling's room on the left. When you walk down the hall just a little ways, on the right would be Dad and the evil stepmother's room. And I believe they kept the baby in there. I think there was like a bassinet or something in there for the baby. Or crib, I don't know. Anyway. And then at the end of the hall, on the left was my youngest sibling's room. On the right was the bathroom. And then I believe there was like a linen closet there on the very end of the hallway. So, and that's a little important when explaining this, because I had said something about being afraid of the dark, afraid of flushing the toilet at night. Because if I flush the toilet at night, then that would wake up Dad, and then Dad would come into my room, and I would have to pass by his room in order to get to the bathroom and then back to my room, so he would know that it was me that was up. And I guess that would be part of the PTSD, because that followed me for many, many years, like a very, very long time. And when I say I was afraid, I don't mean, oh, I was just a little scared. I mean, my heart was pounding. You know, it would feel like I had just run a freaking marathon. My heart was beating so hard. I mean, it would be up in my throat, and I would literally run from the bathroom to my room. You know, try to get past his room as quickly as possible so that he wouldn't see me. Sometimes I would pretend to be asleep when he would come in there, because he would come in there and start messing with me, and if I could just pretend like I was asleep, then maybe he would give up and go back to his room and leave me alone. So I would try that. Rarely did it ever actually work. But I would try it. Let me rinse these real quick. There was at some point during this, and there were other women. There was one particular lady that had gotten brought into the relationship that we absolutely adored, and she was an amazing lady. And I have tried to find her over the years, but I just haven't been able to find her. But she actually did give a shit about us, and I know that there's no way that she knew what was going on. I honestly believe if she had, that she would have stepped in. Matter of fact, I just tried looking her up again when I started doing these videos. I've always wondered what happened to her. I've never been able to find her. But anyway, so something else that had started was he would actually have me smoke pot so that it would relax me while he was doing things to me, so that he would be able to berate me with lesser resistance. So he would get me high because it was beneficial to him. And it would be like down in the living room. He would take me downstairs, make me smoke a joint with him, and sometimes even have me smoking it while he was doing things to me. There was one time, I don't know what he did to piss this person off. I have no idea. All I know is that somebody had come up in the house, and I think everybody was outside. The guy had just walked up in the house, asked for a knife. So my mom wasn't giving him a knife, that he needed to get out of the house. Went out there and he had started getting into an actual altercation with my dad. And now this is how crazy I was as a kid, because I actually kept jumping in the middle of this fight. I was probably, I don't know, 11 or 12 years old at this time. I would have been right around 12, I think. Either shortly before or a little after, I don't know, but right around that age. But I was always very protective of people. So I kept jumping in the middle of this fight, and I'd get knocked down, I'd get back up and jump right back in the middle of that fight, and this went on several times. And then finally the fight broke up, and of course I was told how stupid that was, but at the same time, I was being celebrated because of how brave I was for jumping in the middle of that. I mean, honestly, I could have gotten seriously hurt. I don't know why I did it. I've just always been very protective, even of the people who were hurting me. So, anyway, I believe it was during this point that it had come out that something was going on between my youngest sibling and my dad. He had said something to us, my youngest sibling had said something to my middle sibling and I at an auction. We were outside of an auction and he had said something. And at first I was just absolutely stunned. I mean, I knew he was telling the truth because I knew what was going on with me. And it may have even been at the John Street house when this happened. But I think it was at this place. Because he would have been, let's see, if this was between 14 and 15. I mean, 84 and 85, not 14 or 15. 84 and 85, then he would have been between 5 and 6. So yeah, it was probably Capitol Heights. And Capitol Heights was like late 84 to 86, not 84, 85. That was John Street, somewhere in there. But anyway, yeah, I was really, really confused because I didn't understand how you could do something to a boy and a girl. That confused me because how could he be gay when he was doing stuff to me? It didn't make any sense. But then you're talking about a child whose brain is trying to figure things out and they don't have all of the information. All we know is pretty much what we've been told, and that's very limited. Our information was very limited. But what you learn later on is that when you're going through this, when you're being sexually abused, has absolutely nothing to do with the sex, has everything in the world to do with the control that they have that absolute control over you. And that will become extremely apparent here in just a second. So, anyway, when that came out, I mean, I was absolutely devastated because, one, I knew that I had not protected my siblings, because I thought by me, you know, I would use the word allowing this to happen to myself, even though I was a small kid, that would protect my siblings. And it's not like I could have really stopped it. So allow isn't the right word, but I guess I didn't really fight him on it because I was thinking that I could save them. And it hadn't worked because he had still hurt my brother. And me not remembering that he was present when the incident had occurred between my brother and I want to say that there had actually been 2 incidents between my brother and I. I don't know why I didn't pick up. Well, I guess because I had completely blocked out the fact that Dad was eating present. So I don't know why I never picked up on the fact that there would have been something going on there. Anyway, I was just devastated. I think I'm gonna have to let them dry for a minute. So, anyway, let's go off that for a minute. That's really tough. Like I said before, you know, it's one thing to share my story. It's very difficult for me to talk about things that happened to my siblings, which is not my story to share. So I really don't get into that. But it's extremely difficult for me to talk about, you know, things that have happened to them or to my kids, and it's not that it's easy for me to talk. I guess I used the wrong word. You'll notice that, like, whenever I'm telling you these stories, it's more just the facts, ma'am, and nothing else, because I have to absolutely separate my feelings from what's going on. I have to, like I said, just the facts, and that's all I'm giving you is just the facts. Now, once I leave my dad's house, then I'm already planning on doing a video to basically just let you know just how fucked up I really was over all the shit that I had been through. And then for the time in between there, we're going to walk outside. I need a cigarette, so bear with me for a minute. It's just not raining today. We've got a really good rain over the last couple of days. It brought the temperature down, so we're not in the hundreds today, which is really nice for a change. Oh, all right. So, that's pretty good. Oh, probably. So we live out in the desert, obviously. We live pretty much out in the middle of nowhere. But, you know, we finally got a really good soaking rain and brought the temperature down. Normally it's about 100 degrees every day, if not higher. So today it feels pretty good out here, thankfully. So, anyway. So I think it was the middle sibling that said something to Dad about what my youngest sibling had said. And it got pretty ugly. So, and I don't think, I mean, it wasn't her fault, because I honestly don't think that she had any clue what was really going on. But I did. Obviously, because I was going through it and had been going through it for a very long time. But I couldn't say anything. So I just wish I really wish I could have done something to prevent them from going through anything. From having to experience any kind of abuse at his hands. So anyway, so my dad, he was really good about threatening, and he'd come up with different ways to punish you, and he took great joy in punishing you. So, you know, and I had remembered later about punishment that he had used in California. This was before my parents even separated. But he would make you hold books. Like, you would have to fully extend your arms out in front of you. You were not allowed to bend your elbows. And he would pile books on your arms. Of course, I was just little, but, I mean, dictionary is fucking heavy when you're a little kid. And if you bent your elbows or if your arms dropped, then you got spanked with a belt. So that was one of the punishments he used. But his threats were very creative. His threat for me had become that, well, if you don't straighten up, I'm going to take you to the clinic and see if you're a virgin. Well, how in the hell am I a virgin? You've been raping me for, well over 6 years. I don't know the exact time frame, but it's been over 6 years. So he knew I wasn't. I knew I wasn't. But that was his threat. And he used to say that all the time. And he would say it in front of people, which was embarrassing as hell. Because he's basically telling people that I'm damaged. I'm damaged goods. But he wasn't telling people why I was damaged goods, now was he? But there were times when I would be in the shower, and people would be around, either at the house, or he'd be outside with people or whatever. He'd come in the house and see that I was in the shower. He would actually get in the shower with me. Everybody knows I'm in the shower. So he would take a shower with me, and then he would go back downstairs like nothing. Obvious that he just got out of the shower, and nobody ever said anything. Like, how he got away with this stuff, I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's like nobody was paying attention. And it was pretty freaking obvious. Or maybe it was just obvious to me because I was there. I knew what was going on. So, at one point, him and the evil stepmother had separated for a few days. And so he started reading the Bible to get her back. He didn't believe in God. He's a sworn atheist. He doesn't believe in anything. Of course, if I had done all the shit that he did, I probably wouldn't believe in nothing either. I guess it's a lot easier that way. That way you don't have to face anything. You don't have to face the shit that you've done to people. So, I mean, the incidents become a lot more frequent. There was one incident where I guess I must have been in like 7th grade, so that would have made me 12 years old, but that would have put me at a different school than my siblings, because I had gotten home from school and they weren't home yet. And so he had me, I was in his room and he was doing things to me. He was actually on top of me when they came in, and they actually saw him on top of me. This is the one and only time that he had actually been busted in the act. Okay. And we never spoke about it. Like, they asked me, what he was doing, what was going on, why was he on top of me? And of course I'd tell them to shut up. It was none of their business, and I didn't want to talk about it because I was embarrassed. I was ashamed of what was going on, because I felt like I was just as much at fault for what was happening. So we're going to fast forward to the day when I left, because really, I can't go incident by incident because there's so freaking many of them, and they're the majority. It's all the same. It's the same fucking story over and over and over again. Either I'd get up at night and he'd come into the room, wake me up, take me downstairs, or any opportunity that he had, he would take advantage of, and it happened. I'm sure it wasn't nightly, but it happened a lot. Too many times to count. So, and forever I remembered the exact day. And maybe I should look at that disc where I was writing the book, because I'm sure it's probably on there. The exact day that I left. I can't remember if it was like September. I want to say it was like September 13th, 16th, 18th. It was one of those days in there. But the month was almost like the halfway mark in that. Anyway, and it was 1986. So I was 13 and a half years old. And I didn't run away because he was abusing me. I ran away because I thought he was going to kill me. Matter of fact, I was convinced he was going to kill me. So what happened is the evil stepmother had stolen a bunch of his pot. And she blamed it on me. Said I did it. And so I was getting the shit beat out of me pretty regular. So every time I heard the footsteps coming up the stairs, I knew that I was getting ready to get beat again. And so this last time that I heard the footsteps on the stairs, those heavy footsteps coming up the stairs, I jumped out of my second-story window and landed on my hands and knees on the slab of concrete that was the back porch that we shared with the apartment that was connected to us. And I ran in their back door, up their steps, and under her son's bed. And I was absolutely terrified. And it took her a good while to get me to come out from underneath her son's bed, with her telling me, it's going to be okay, everything's okay, you're safe, I'm going to make sure he can't get to you. And of course I didn't feel the pain of landing on the concrete because the adrenaline was so much. I didn't feel nothing. But prior to jumping out of the window, I had actually, I don't know if it was, I think it was her son that I had seen outside. And so I asked him to ask his mom if it would be okay if I, could I hide out at their house, if I could get out of the house, because my dad was beating me. And they said that it would be okay. So at least I knew if I jumped, I had somewhere to go. So I jumped. I was in their house. When I was talking to them, I asked them if I could call my mom. So I actually called my mom. Told my mom what was going on. God, my hair's just all over the place. Anyway, told my mom what was going on. And the lady had talked to my mom, and she said that she had a friend that worked at DCS or DPS, or I don't know what it was called back then. They've gone through so many different names, changes, and different states call it different things. And so anyway, she had called them, and I had talked to her friend, and so they were going to send somebody out to talk to me, or she was talking to somebody. But anyway, they had found out that my dad had actually called me in as a runaway. And it turned out that it wasn't my dad that had went up the steps when I had jumped. I don't remember who it was that went up the steps, but it wasn't him. But whoever it was had then went back downstairs to tell him that I wasn't there, because they couldn't find me anywhere. So, and then they figured out, I guess, that I had jumped out the window and run off. But they didn't know that I was next door. At least at that time they didn't. My dad had actually knocked on her door and asked her if she had seen me. She said that no, she hadn't. Asked if everything was okay. You know, she just really played it off. And so I had talked to my mom again, and my mom was asking if Dad had ever done anything to me. And I was just quiet for a long time, and then I finally said yes. And so at that point, it turned into a whole different situation. So we had talked to the lady's friend again at Child Protective Services, and they decided, because I was begging them, you know, you gotta make it look like you're arresting me. Because if he knows that I said something, he's going to kill me. And so they did. They made it look like I was being arrested for running away. So they handcuffed me and took me out and put me in a cop car and took me down to the station. And then that night, I had to tell them what my dad had been doing to me. And there was several male officers and one female officer. And I had to tell these people what he had done all these years. So that was just as traumatizing as actually going through it. I mean, it was horrible. And of course, you know, you have people that don't believe you. They think you're making it up. And so they'd sit there and they'd ask these crazy fucking questions. Or how come you can't tell us when it happened? Or how come you can't tell us, you know, what day it was? Or, you know, when it started? Or how come you can't give us specific times? And that's why I keep saying this over and over and over again. I wasn't keeping notes. I mean, I don't know of anybody in that situation that actually keeps notes. And of course, and this was back in '86. So, I mean, things have drastically changed since then. But, yeah, back then, it was horrible. I don't remember the officer's name, the female officer. I wish I did, because she ended up having to go to the hospital with me, where they did their exam. And their exam said that it's extremely obvious that something had been going on, and it had been going on for a very long time. That this was nothing new. These were not new scars. And it had been going on for a long time. So the exam backed up what I told them. So they knew I was telling the truth at that point. So from there, I ended up in a emergency children's shelter with a bunch of other kids. And that was the first night that I spent outside of my dad's control. And And you'd think, oh yay, she's finally away from him. The abuse had stopped. Or it will stop, or whatever. And I think the problem with going through it so long is that becomes a normal way of life for you. Like, you don't know any other way. And you're being told that, well, the reason why I'm doing this to you is because I love you so much. And so those two things become normal. Like, this is how people who love you, this is what they do to you. They beat on you, they rape you. I mean, this is normal. And it had been my normal for a very long time. So when it stopped, and I didn't have anybody abusing me, I started abusing myself. I was putting myself in extremely dangerous situations. I was doing things that I didn't want to do, but, you know, I was looking for ways to feel loved. And then I had to go in front of a grand jury. My mom did come out. She didn't come out right away. I don't know how much time had elapsed between me leaving my dad's house and her coming out. I know it had been a good bit, because I wasn't going to school. I was supposed to be going to school, but I was running away from school during the day to sneak off to my siblings' school so that I could see them, because I had missed them. I mean, my siblings meant the world to me, so I would sneak off to their school so I could go and see them, because I wasn't allowed to talk to them or anything. There's no way Dad was going to let me talk to them. So, and then that was when I found out that he was actually paying people so that they would go to court and tell them that I was sleeping around, that I had slept with all these people. So, yeah, I don't know why he thought that they would believe that, but I mean, hell, I was just a kid. But, anyway, yeah. So I think my mom came out about the time that I had to testify in front of the grand jury. And the grand jury did come back with a true bill. And then it was decided that I would not have to testify at the trial. And then, Arizona retained custody of me. The state of Arizona had custody of me. Custody was not given to my mom. And so when I went to Arizona with my mom, she was my guardian, but she didn't have actual custody of me. Arizona was basically paying her, or was supposed to be paying her to keep me, I guess is how that works. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. So I'm not sure exactly what happened at the trial, or if anything happened. I know that he received a slap on the wrist, told that he needed to attend counseling. They didn't do anything about him having other children in the home, because he not only had my siblings, but then he also, my half brother was there, my half sibling, and then the evil stepmother must have been pregnant again. And I have 3 half siblings, but I never knew 2 of them. I know one of them has passed away. I'm not sure, I can't remember which one it was. It, one of the evil stepmother's children. And then I have another half sibling, and I've never even spoken to her. And there's a story on that one too. And that was the end of the shit between me and my dad. So, now my siblings did get away from him. They had come out that following summer for vacation at my mom's, which we did usually on the summers. When we were at Dad's, we would go out to Arizona for vacation during the summertime. And they had come out that following summer, and my mom just kept them. And she refused to send them back. And I guess Dad was smart enough not to fight her on it, because there's more stories. You know, for a long, long time. Because when it went to court, and when I had talked to my siblings, they said that they didn't remember walking in on it. And I know that that was Dad threatening them, because it had just happened not long before that. But then for a long time after, they said that they didn't remember it. And I had actually gotten to a point where I had hoped that they didn't remember it, because I didn't want them to carry that. And it wasn't until, I can't remember if it was 2006 or 14, either the first or second time I moved back out here, that my middle sibling actually told me that she did remember it. And then that, I felt absolutely horrible. I felt better believing that she didn't remember it, because I didn't want her to carry that. And then I felt horrible when she told me that she did actually remember it. So anyway, I am going to shut this off here for today. There was a lot, and thankfully we will not have to discuss being raped anymore. So that chapter of my life is closing with this video. As far as the actual act goes, of course, the fallout from all of that will remain with me for the rest of my life. I mean, it's still with me even now. And like I said, I had left his house 37 years ago. Actually, this month makes 37 years ago. So that's why I said the statute of limitations might be 7 years, but it's a life sentence for us. It's not something that we ever outgrow. So anyway, I do have to work this evening, so I probably will not do a video tonight. I will probably try to do one tomorrow during the day, because my husband's on days. So it's just a lot easier to do them when he's not around. And he does know the story. I haven't sat down and told him step by step, this is what happens. And he can watch the videos. He's subscribed to the channel. He has access to them, and I don't hide anything from him. It's a lot easier to tell the story when you're by yourself than if you have in front of a live audience, so to speak. So anyway, I really appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you coming back. Again, I hope that that one person that may need to hear the story, that may be helped by the story, I hope that you are able to hear it. I hope that it's able to comfort you or give you strength or whatever it is that you might need from it. You know, and just pray that it gets to where it needs to go. That's it. That's my only goal. Just get it where it needs to go. You know, and by doing so, then I would be able to help somebody that needs it. So anyway, I hope everybody has a wonderful day. God bless. Keep me in your prayers. I'll keep you in mine. And until next time. Well, see you then. Take care.